So do you ever feel like a fraud, like you're not good enough, and that you're going to be found out pretty soon? If you do, you're probably struggling with something called imposter syndrome. And I'm here to help you rewire your brain so that you can eliminate imposter syndrome once and for all. And it is actually entirely possible to do that. But if you don't have the right tools, it's like you're going to be stuck in the same cycle. You're going to be stuck at the same speed. Nothing's going to change, or you might get a little bit of a change momentarily, and then you're back to square one again. And so if you don't have the right tools, how are you going to be able to eliminate it entirely or manage it when it comes back up at the odd time that it will come up, and it'll show up an awful lot less? So I'm here. My name is Marie McCarthy. I'm a mindset coach with neuroscience. I specialize in neuroscience, and I help business owners and very senior corporate leaders who have that success, but actually their self-worth and their fulfillment doesn't match their business success. So if you're a business owner or a business leader, feel free to comment, get in touch, see does this show up for you. Let me know your thoughts. And I have helped so many people at this stage. My mission is to help a lot more. Doesn't matter if you're not a business owner or a senior leader, it doesn't matter. You're going to get some really good value from this anyway. What I have done also is I have created a free PDF for you, and it's the 5 mindset hacks that I used to eliminate my imposter syndrome. So it's free. If you want it, just drop a comment in the comment box and put the word freebie in it, and I will email you this free PDF on how to eliminate your imposter syndrome. So let's get into it. I'm going to talk today just really simply 3 ways that you can eliminate your imposter syndrome. Okay, first of all, you have to figure out what your imposter syndrome is, where does it show up in your life, and where did it come from? Because if you start to understand what it is, how it shows up in your life, then when it shows up in the future or you're working through it, you're going to be a lot more aware of it, and you can see where it actually started from. So think back, if you did a timeline of your life and you kind of went back, because all our learned behaviors effectively come from childhood. If you did a time lapse of your life, would you be able to figure out where your imposter syndrome came from? I bet you probably would. So take some time, no distractions, make a cup of tea or coffee or a hot drink. Sit down and literally just try and figure out where this came from. And then once you know where it came from, and then ask yourself, well, how does it show up for me? So for me, it was always like if I got a new promotion in work, I'd get the promotion. I knew I had the skill set to do it. But then I get the job and I'd feel like, oh, I actually have to do this now, and I'm going to be found out. I'm not going to be as good as what I said I would be in the interview. And what would happen is, ultimately, I would be worried, I'd be anxious, I wouldn't be performing, to be fair, as good as what I should have been, probably. It would often show up then, I would often make silly mistakes, or I kind of went into this fear mode. So I was just always on edge, and this is in my corporate career. So I wish I knew about this sooner, but I was always anxious, worried, fearful. And then I just started doubting myself, and especially when I made a mistake. So if you ever make a mistake and then, you're like, oh, I see. What we tend to do is we look for the evidence to prove how we're feeling. So by me making a mistake, something happening, I getting corrected for it, then I would go on a negative cycle of, you see, I told you you weren't good enough. I told you you were a fraud. I told you were fake. I told you were going to be found out. And I would rarely look at the positives. I'd rarely look at the evidence to say, well, where's the truth in that actually? Okay, you make mistakes. That's how you learn. but it just would create this negative cycle and I would start spiraling down. So that is the first tip I have for you. The second tip is about the ABC method that I created. So the ABC method is basically a traffic light system, if you think about it. And it's where you can regulate your nervous system and your emotions. And what that does is it tells your brain you're not under threat. I see this behavior, but I'm not going to allow myself to go down this rabbit hole. So like I would have gone down and started spiraling, using this ABC method that I have created, researched, backed by neuroscience, is to stop the central nervous system from going into the red zone, which is your fight or flight. And the ABC method is attention, breathe, and choice. So you bring your attention to whatever the thought is. So say that imposter syndrome thought comes up, like I'm a fraud, I'm a fake, I'm going to be found out. You start that spiral. Then you need to breathe. So a couple of deep breaths, 2 or 3, nothing major. You could do this walking, you could do this in the car, you could do this in the office, you could do this at work, wherever. You could do it at home. Just breathe. And what that does, when you breathe deeply, and it tells your nervous system you're not under threat, I am in control. And then you need to make a choice. So the C stands for choice. You can then choose to create a different thought pattern, or you can choose to question yourself on the evidence of that. So even if you said to yourself, where's the evidence to show that I'm actually a fraud? And if you start to question it and look for it, have a chat with someone who's your friend. You'll find you don't have any evidence to prove it. So then what you do is you make a choice on, okay, well, I recognize that behavior, I recognize that thought pattern, but I'm choosing a different thought pattern. I am choosing to find the good in what I do, or just acknowledge that it was a mistake and move on. And if you continue to do that, this is the hack that I have used myself, and I have found it so amazing over time. It rewires your brain, but you have to consciously do it all the time when those thought patterns come up. And what happens is when you start doing it regularly and over time and you're practicing it, what happens is you can access that part, that new neurons and new neural pathways that you're creating an awful lot faster. So if that imposter syndrome shows up again, you actually find you're able to manage it an awful lot faster. And over time, if you keep doing this, you actually find the imposter syndrome doesn't show up. So you can eliminate it, but it's about managing it as well. And then the third thing I want to talk to you about, the third tip I would have is it's okay to just understand that imposter syndrome isn't going to inhibit you. It's not going to hold you back from achieving anything that you want to achieve. And that it is a learned behavior and it is a thought pattern that you can change. And not to be afraid of it even. So just allow yourself, what can I learn from my imposter syndrome actually? Is there something good in this that I can learn and I can take away from? Because a lot of the time we do have this negative connotation and a negative mindset around imposter syndrome. And while it's not a nice feeling the most of the time, if you just start to look at it in more of a positive light and say, okay, well, look, I can learn something from this, what would that open up for you? So when I'm working with business owners and I'm working with senior leaders and they've started the business they always wanted, or they got that really senior position and that promotion they always wanted, but they're so wrapped with anxiety, they're wrapped with imposter syndrome. Actually, hang on a second. If you just allow it and look at it from, what can I learn here? Is there something that maybe I need to be more aware of? That maybe I'm not alone in feeling this. There may be other colleagues that I'm working with, that I'm, in business with, that may be feeling the same. And maybe you have a different approach with those people. Are you able to recognize it in your colleagues and your teammates or those working for you? So do you see how if you just even turn it into a positive, it doesn't have that fear factor, and that's how you move from fear as well to freedom. And I talk about that in, as I said, my free guide. So please do put in the comments that free guide and I will send it to you, and I'll be doing an awful lot more. Obviously this is a new YouTube channel for me, so I'm going to be doing an awful lot more. I talk about the ABC method as well, actually in a bit more detail here, so you can see it. So the A is for attention, you're breathing, and then you have your choice. And I've made it like a traffic light system, because our nervous system is like a traffic light system. You're moving from your sympathetic state to your parasympathetic state. And what we want to do is we want to be able to control this. But if I don't give you the tools and you don't have the right tools to do it, it's often like I said to you, there's a house there full of ivy and I need you to remove it. And you went at the ivy with a kitchen scissors. I think you're going to be there for very long time. Whereas if I said to you, hang on, the light's gone off, let me just fix that a second, let me see if that comes back on, because it got very dark. Ooh, that's a bit bright, isn't it? This is real. We might turn it down a smidgen because that's a bit bright. Okay, but so that's something. If I said to you, go at it with a kitchen scissors, like, you'd be there for ages. Whereas you need the right tools to be able to tackle the ivy around the house. So by giving you some tools, that's what I'm here about in this channel, giving you the tools for you to empower yourself and enable you to develop a really resilient and strong and an improved self-worth, which is really and truly the nucleus to absolutely everything. Self-worth is really and truly the root cause to everything. So, like I said, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And I am coming on weekly. I have this new, obviously, PDF for you. So don't forget to request that in the comments and I will send them to you. If you have any comments, I read all your comments. So please do, send me a comment. You can reach out to me through Instagram, or you can DM me privately as well if you want. But if you're a business owner and you're struggling, or a business leader and you're struggling with imposter syndrome, well then give me a text, shoot me a message, and I'll have a conversation with you about how I can help you. So for this week, I hope you got some value in terms of imposter syndrome. This is a quick video. I could talk about this for hours. But just take each piece that I've talked about and maybe just work on one piece, for the week and see how you feel. And then work on the second piece, and then work on the third piece, and then maybe bring them all together and see what happens. So just allow yourself to say, I am in control of this. No one's going to be able to do it. But if I have the right tools and the right knowledge, I can apply it and I can do it. And trust me, it worked, because it works for me. And I was riddled with imposter syndrome so much in my career, it actually stifled me an awful lot. Whereas now it does show up sometimes, but I'm able to manage it a lot better, and it doesn't show up as often as what I used to, if anything, quite rarely. So I hope you have a good week, and I will see you next Thursday. And if you would like me to talk about anything else in terms of videos or content, do let me know, because I'm here to provide value for you. I started this YouTube so that I can share my knowledge, talk about what I'm seeing with my clients. And yeah, if it helps one person, then that's a good day's work. So have a lovely weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.